we are so excited to have you here. It's the beginning of a new year, fresh start, and there's no one that we need to kick us in our pants more than you. You're it for us. So we're very glad that you're here. Helen is a regular on Wealth Edit Wednesday, the only regular besides Emily and I really, who just sheds a lot of wisdom. She is so good with money, always has been, and is extremely unapologetic about it. So I always love to sit at her feet and learn all that I can learn. So there's no more introductions needed unless we do have some new people. So maybe spend 5 minutes just telling them how you got to be so good with money.
Well, one thing that strikes me is how much respect is between me and these two people. Because God, I feel like God put us together. Now I know I'm not supposed to talk about God, and I don't.
No, you can.
You can talk about God for sure.
But I know that I'm here with my lunch group, the fancy group. That's everyone. I'm extremely wealthy, and then I'm the one off. Have been for 30 years, and we're here at one of their lake houses, and they're all out there yucking it up, saying to me, "Have you told them this? Have you told them that?" And we've had a great conversation this morning. Because their whole point was they knew that I was struggling for 20 years before my husband is Dickie, who, for those of y'all who don't know me, who was climbing the corporate ladder, and I was selling real estate, trying to give my children private educations and have a house and go on a trip. These people out there all have planes. They were going to the Bahamas for the weekend, and I was going to Walmart, and I'm not kidding. So now we're all still here, and they're just making fun. I mean, they're just like, do they know that you're a total fake? And I'm like, God, I know.
Yeah, please. You're not. You're the OG. You're the best.
But I do want to tell y'all what I've decided I want to talk about. And I've had some great input. One, my daughter Milner called me this morning. She's fabulous with money. She's 35. And she called and she said, I know what you're going to talk about, which I had said to Lauren too. I want to say, look, it's the first part of February. Bills are coming in from Christmas. And if you really don't get budgeting, most of the time where you're going to blow it is Christmas. That's where you're going to blow it. So those bills are starting to come in. And what I want is for everybody who's listening to this to get some guts. Like Lucille Ball said, you can't live life unless you got a lot of guts. Well, I switched the word guts to grit. You got to have a lot of grit. But so what? That's my biggest regret. I look back and I wish I had been braver when I was y'all's age, and that I would just stand up and go, hey, I can't afford it. I'm working on a budget here, and I want to be smart. You're saving, you're smart. That's just it. Now, caveat is, cheap is different than frugal. We don't want anybody cheap. That's a character flaw. Cheap is wrong. Frugal, I look at frugal people, I look at myself and go, you is one smart person, because I see what I have and I'm not going out of those boundaries. Yeah. So I want the Wealth Edit people who are listening. I've been hammering on this for 11 years that I've been doing this talk. So what's it going to take for you to do the challenge I set, which Lauren and Emily have my budgets and they can send it out. But
we're going to send it out afterwards.
It's a mindset that you're going to say, this stops now. So the challenge is for 1 week, whenever you decide that week's going to start, it can be this Saturday, say from Saturday to the next Saturday, I'm not going to spend. It's revolutionary. I know people are like, what? Well, I've got to go out. No, I'm saying I want you to stop spending, and except for the things that you really have to spend on, like a power bill or groceries. And I'm even saying, this might be the week you tell your friends who are all going out over and over for the $16 Grey Goose martinis every night, which they are probably like, this group of people, it wouldn't matter. But if I was going, I was in trouble because I was trying to be what they were and I didn't have the same funds. Luckily now I can keep up with them, sort of, not really, but I can go get a Grey Goose martini if I want. I'll put it that way. But I want y'all to try that. And then at the end of the week, you look and go, oh, wow. Okay. I see what I have been spending on and not spending on. It's a great way to start.
I agree. And, I was thinking a lot since our time yesterday, and I'm raising 3 daughters. Emily's raising 2. You've raised a daughter. And, so much about this age and stage that I'm in is about fitting in. And I think that concept, fitting in is different than belonging. And I think if you're trying to fit in, you'll make Grey Goose martini sacrifices in order to do so. And you'll never really feel like that sense of belonging that you're actually craving. That was from our conversation yesterday, sort of my thought. And if you do just kind of like that, you let that switch flip and you just say, I'm not doing this anymore. That actually happened to me like 2 weeks ago. We got back from this fancy trip. I'm like, who do I think I am? Like, what is wrong with me? I mean, honestly, I was sitting there, I'm like, I'm not the type of person that like, I don't know. Anyway, I really had a moment, but sometimes it takes that, there's people that have like, higher bottoms and then lower, right here, I have to get all the way down here. Most people can just go right here and be fine, but you just kind of have to let it say, I'm not doing it this way anymore. And that's with anything in your life that you want to make a priority. But I really thought about that.
Challenge is all the week challenges is backing up what you're saying, which is it gives you a thing to do to start. And by the way, raising daughters is a lot more expensive than raising sons. I have one of each, and sons, most of them, they're just like, girls correlate the clothes and the experiences and the friends with their self-worth. And as a parent, it's really, that's the culture we live in, and undoing that and helping them is a big part of raising girls. And a lot of that comes with do you have a lot of, what's your money? Are you going to Vail for spring break, or are you going to Mobile? It's hard.
Well, and I would say, I mean, Helen, you've helped me do this with my girls, and it's something that we talk about a lot is, how giving them an idea of like what we're saving, what our, how much we can spend every month, and then like projecting it towards a goal though. So like, for instance, we wanted to go on a nice spring break, and we've been talking about that for a year, like it's built up to, this is what we can do. But I think
saving for it.
Yeah. And that's where I think I am looking at my life and I'm thinking, okay, I'm having these conversations and helping them like change the way they're looking at it. And then like realizing, we've made this correlation before, but I've also have a young daughter who wanted to lose a little bit of weight. And it's the same, it was a very similar concept. I was like, you eat during the day, like based on what you want to do. So let's say you have a birthday party and you want to like eat the biggest ice cream sundae there is, just because that's what you want to do.
Because you can.
Right. And you can, like, you're young, you can totally have splurges. However, if you just think about what you're doing a couple of days before, not only is it fine for you to eat it, but then also you enjoy it more. And I was like, it's kind of like money. And I was telling them that, and they're like, what? And I'm like, it's the same kind of concept.
It is the same.
And
it's discipline. That's all it is.
Discipline.
It's discipline.
But then also on the flip side, Lauren, I went on that vacation with Lauren, and I had to say, no, I can't do some of the things that they did. And it was funny, like walking through that, because everybody sort of wanted to feel sorry for me, but really because I had confidence in what I was doing other than that, it like translated. I think people picked up on that for me too. I was like, yeah, nobody needs to feel sorry for me. We're going to college next year. Yeah. I mean, like, sorry.
This is the truth. So when I started doing this 11 years ago, and I just told this crazy group of rich friends out here, I said, my biggest regret, and I have regrets because you can't live and not have regrets. You just do, because we're flawed. My biggest regret, though, and I've told y'all a million times, I said I wasn't brave enough to say, hey, I can't afford that, but I'll meet y'all later for dessert. Or I wasn't brave enough. I was a whiner. I didn't speak it. I thought it all the time. I was sitting there thinking, well, I wish I had a trust fund. And so you saying to me that you would say, I just can't do that, but I can do this. It's like,
Oh, she's the best
so
at it.
impressed. I'm so impressed because
She's
I
way
wasn't brave.
more impressive. She's able to do it all. She does it so well. I'm like,
That's just
I guess I can get this thing over here. I mean, not good. We're not doing that anymore though, Helen. It's over.
Go it, Lauren. All right, well, I'm gonna tell y'all some of the things people have told me to say. Milner, I think Milner, my daughter Milner, is the best because she is 35, has 2 young children, husband and business and all that. But she said, so I want you to say, well, what are you afraid of? What are you afraid of really if you do this week challenge? Are you afraid that you'll find out you can't do it? Are you afraid that you will find out you have to have help? Which I've told Lauren and Emily forever, hey, there are people out there who can help you. I can help. They'll give you my contact number. I'll talk to you on the phone. I helped a family in Atlanta, never met them, talked to them 4 times on the phone over a period of months. They got on the budget. Their marriage is in better shape. I'm not patting myself on the back, but it's help. It's help. So Milner's point was, well, what really are you afraid? Why are you afraid to try the week challenge? Why? What is it that's holding you back? Because if you really want to get control of your finances, there has to be a starting point. There has to be a starting point. And this is the best one I've ever found. So what are you afraid of?
I'm going to echo that. And there's one person on this call that I've been talking to a good bit who is like completely committed to getting her finances in order. And I love it. But we were having a conversation about how, you know, it's kind of a snowball effect because like once you get the taste of it, so thinking about the challenge that you're putting out there, not spending for 1 week, it's not only is it a good thing, like practically speaking, not to spend the money, but you get in the headspace to start thinking through and you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll look into this. And it's like once you start digging in, it builds upon each other and you get more and more comfortable with the concepts, especially after you've done the hard part of figuring out how much it really is that you spend. For some reason, that seems to be like a hurdle that some people just feel like they can't do it.
Figure out how to beat the system.
Right.
Because that's what I think that's one of my biggest talents, buddy. I am so not gonna let the mall with the piano player at Christmas get my money unless I want them to have it. I know how to work the system and it's taken years. I see the way to get what I want for a better price, or that's the fun of it. But you can't start doing that until you get to even. Do you see what I'm saying? The debt is a killer of wealth. That's Helen Owens. I made that up, but it's the truth. Debt is a killer of wealth. And so until you figure out the debt part, and I was telling this crazy group of friends of mine, I said, do y'all remember the couple that came to me about 4 years ago? And at the end of the meeting, I looked at him and said, guess what? This is going to hurt. Both of you have got to get new jobs. Your jobs aren't paying enough. You've got to stop spending and go to work. And I looked at the guy and I went, until things get better, you got to get a second job. How you feel about that? And he actually cried. He had tears. It's like, what? I was like, face the tiger. Y'all know my story about face the tiger. Just let it eat you up and then deal with it.
Wait, tell us that story because there's new people here. Tell us about that tiger.
It's actually the story that people ask me the most, which is kind of, I would have thought they'd have asked me about something financial, but this relates to all of life. My mother was dying a gruesome cancerous death, and I was running in every direction to not face it. I was just hiring people and talking to doctors, and we'll get another opinion here, and I was an absolute maniac. I was out there trying to just fix this, fix, until my very wise husband, who is really smart and very steady, it was literally, he took me by the shoulders and said, stop, and looked me in the face. And I was crying. Something had happened with the sitter. And he said, Helen, you have got to face the tiger. Your mother is dying and you're not going to fix it. You're blowing around new sitters. He went, face it. She's dying. Let the tiger eat you up. And then you can turn around and deal with what you got to deal with. So best advice on all, think of what that applies to.
Everything.
Everything. It's not just money. It's like, what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your children? It's really just face the truth and let it become real to you. And then you can fix it, or you can get some help to fix it, but you got to fix it. So guess what? The tiger ate me alive and then I dealt with it. That's it.
It's a good story.
It is a good story. And also somebody that loved me dearly had the guts to tell me. And a lot of times I feel like that's part of my role here is people, I have the guts to tell people the truth. I do. And they probably hate me, but I don't care.
Well, we live in a very, at least where we live, it is extremely Epicurean. People do not like to feel uncomfortable on any level, in any way, shape, or form. So that is part of the issue, because we want everything to be fine. We want it to feel fine. We want to feel okay. We don't want to feel uncomfortable. And so because of that, it really gets in the way of being actually good with money, because you have to take that step and deal with the uncomfortable and make sure that you can actually say, oh, I'm like not where I am or where I want to be. This doesn't feel aligned with who I am as a person, which is my problem. It's not income at this very moment is thankfully not my problem. But you know what? Having finances that are actually aligned with how I'm spending my money is my problem. And it's a problem. Like it just doesn't feel good. But we kind of push that down and we don't talk about those things. And that really holds us back from actual freedom, peace, and health in finances.
And also, I have a huge respect for people who are bright. I hope I have some bright. I do think I have some of that, but not a lot. But I have such a respect for people who are bright and smart. And it really boils down, it's not even about money. Once you get it, you face the tiger. It's about, are you going to be smart and really savvy in your life? Or are you going to be a whiner and kind of just not really get it? Even if you have a boatload of money, you still want to be one of those smart and savvy people. It's a bet. So where are you going to start? That's Milner this morning. Mom, you've got to hammer this in. These people have got to stop spending. I was going, okay, I'm going to tell them. I would really love to hear when I come back I'd really love to hear some people that actually did this.
Well, listen, we may have, if we have a second, I don't know if anybody's a brave caller today, but I know that there's some people who have listened to you from the beginning. I don't know if anyone's willing to take themselves off mute and talk about how Helen has changed their worldview on money, but if there is anyone, we're going to give it a minute, because I bet someone's going to take their line off mute.
Well, people are always scared to ask a question.
I know, but just in case. Anyone? Okay, that was my.
Well, if they don't, I looked up an article, and it was about, I told Lauren this, it was about some things that you start to pay attention to the first of the year. And I want to read some of these bullet points, because this might encourage you to take the challenge of the week of not spending. All right, first of all, don't complain and don't explain. I wish I had gotten that at younger. Just stop bitching, but don't explain it either. And then I wrote, stop doing destructive things. And you think, well, I don't really do destructive things. Yeah, if you're not on a budget and you're not living within your means, it's destructive. Stop blaming others for your trouble. Stop being ungrateful. Remember the line I told you a long time ago is, don't let the things you want erase the things you have. That's a huge one. I've done it. See, I've done all these the wrong way. So that's why. Stop spending time with the wrong people. If you're this group of wealthy friends of mine, if I had the guts to say years ago, I can't afford that, y'all are driving me nuts, move on, they would have still loved me. But I was a whiner, and so I didn't do it right. But they were still the good people, even though they were rich. Stop lying to yourself. Stop lying. Stop trying to be somebody you're not. Don't be scared to make a mistake. This is just a way to start to better yourself. How many things in the world can you do that better yourself? This 1 week of a challenge, what's it going to take? Like Lucille Ball said, it takes guts. Helen says it takes grit to live life and do it well and be smart. There are just a few more. Stop comparing. I hammer that on this all the time. Stop comparing, because, and I have learned this in my old age, because as much as I compared, you really don't know what's going on in somebody else's house, in somebody else's marriage, in their heartaches and their children. You don't know. You think you do. You have no idea. So the last one is envy will kill you. And I don't mean like literally. Envy will kill your spirit. It will kill your children. It will kill your family. It is insidious. It is the biggest enemy. And so why wouldn't you be brave and just own up to it like I wish I had done? So I'm such a fake. If I had done it well, I would be so pompous and go, yeah, this is what I did. Well, I didn't do it all that well. But now I know what I should have done. So
I love that conversation about envy, because that's something that obviously most of us will feel inside, but it's not like something we talk about very regularly.
It's ugly to talk.
It's ugly to talk about. It's like slightly embarrassing. You shouldn't do it and all the things. But a couple of years ago, I guess now it's probably been 3 years before COVID, that one of the big house tours in Birmingham came up, and I asked a friend of mine to go with me, and she was very nice and said, you know what, I can't go to those. And
she's so smart.
And I said, what do you mean? And she's like, I really struggle with envy when I go to those houses. And she's like, I know that doesn't make any sense, but when I go, that's how I feel. And it's not worth it to me, because it takes me months to get over it. Every time I look at anything in my house, I hate it. And I just don't. And I remember thinking,
that girl is smart.
But what was interesting was she's like, do you not feel that way? And I said, well, I definitely feel envy in my life sometimes, but that doesn't do it for me. Like, for whatever reason, like they're so nice. Like, I don't even have any expectation I would ever have anything like that, nor have I, like, it doesn't bother me. I think it's more like I'm a voyeur and just like to see how the other people live. But she, I said, but it made me think about it, because I thought there are certain things that do cause me envy. They're triggers. And so I need to know that about myself and keep myself like away from that. And I love that she had that boundary, like, no. And so I think as we think about each of our lives and we think about the different triggers that we have, because they're all different, like what may call you envy doesn't me, and vice versa. But I think I think about that a lot, and I love just that self-awareness.
You know what I just told this group? The difference in having a lot of money and being on a big budget, which, they go, well, Helen, your family turned out that we were all divorced. What? I said, no, the bottom line is they have never had to find a bargain. So I said, let's get down to basics. Y'all want a car. Helen and Dickie want a car. Helen and Dickie are going to find the one that's been driven 2,000 miles. We're going to price it out. We're going to drive to Anniston to get the best deal. This group, they pick up, hey, Lexus, can you bring me the newest and greatest? I want it cherry red. And can you have it here tomorrow and take my old one off? Thank you. It's ease. It's ease. And for me, that was a big trigger. I was constantly having to work to I still had a nice car, but it was it was so different than the way people with big money can do. That was a trigger for me, is I didn't want to be just the one that was always out there having to huss something to get it, you know, but I did.
I know. I always say I have like a champagne taste and a beer budget. Like I really do. I'm like, I'm going to get that nice stuff, but it's going to take me a little scrappy way to get there. I can't just go and swipe the card.
I agree. And I just was telling Beth when she was helping me, so I said, so she said, this is so hard for me though, because I need to rein it in and just get a couple of nice things, but I want it all to be nice. And I said, well, Beth, you know what? Maybe it's that you just want to pick the few things that are really going to matter to you. And I want everybody out there to hear this. And so maybe you do splurge after you get your finances in order. And I have dreamed of those Jimmy Choo, you know, I pick on Jimmy Choo. I've dreamed of those Jimmy Choo shoes. And now I'm going to do it no matter what. Okay. I think you're dumb, but if that's your thing, it's okay. Once you get it together, once you've done it right.
That's right.
Do y'all, am I missing here today? I'm trying to.
No, you're not. We actually have a question from the audience. I think we have a hand raised. Grace.
Hey y'all, can you hear me?
Yes, I'm so glad. Grace, welcome to the Wealth Edit. Grace is one of our newest members, and I'm so excited she's here.
She's brave.
Thank you, ladies. Hey, Helen. So I am a longtime lurker and first-time caller. I've been lurking the Wealth Edit for a year online, and I swear at the Christmas parties I went to with my girlfriends who sound kind of like your girlfriends that are outside right now, they all mentioned the Wealth Edit and how fabulous it's been even for them and their situations. And I thought, if this is worth talking about at a Christmas cocktail party, I am wanting in. So here I am. So my small win for the day, literally before I dialed in, paid off the Amazon credit card and ready to shred it.
Mm-hmm. Stop it.
Yes.
And
I knew y'all would celebrate with me. So I wanted to say
I am celebrating with you too. That's awesome.
That is awesome.
So
the Amazon credit card, that is humongous and a huge feat. Not just because you paid it off, Grace. What's the hidden? It's because you get it. You get it. You're going to be smart. You're not going to be a whiner out there that says, I wanted the Jimmy Choo, so I had to spend $700. I am very proud of you. It's not just for paying it off. It's because I can tell you get it.
Thank you, Helen, and hallelujah for a network of women that will cheer you on for things like
that. Oh, Grace, that's awesome.
I know. Thank you, Grace, for saying something. We love that.
So here's the next step. Well, I've got one question for Helen. I didn't just want to call in and brag on myself.
Okay.
Now let's figure out what to do next. So I'm done with it. And here's what I think got me in the situation. I love the dopamine hit of the small $50 purchase that can happen several times a week and it just not be a big deal. And then suddenly I could have had the YSL bag I've been wanting instead of, I don't even know what this crap is I've bought. And so the no spend challenge sounds great to me. If I could even stop spending the silly things on Amazon that just are a quick dopamine hit and show up in 2 days, that'd be great. So what's your advice?
But here's the deal, Grace. Nobody's going to not agree that doing stuff like that's kind of fun. It's for me, it's like going to the Dollar General or, hey, even better, the dollar store. My husband's like, Helen, like, do you have to go to the dollar store and buy all this junk? And I'm like, well, it absolutely makes me feel great to spend $12 and I have an entire cart full of junk. It's fun. It's fun. But when you start to realize, and I think you're headed that way, that the stuff is junk, as long as you know it's junk and you have budgeted, let's say Grace says, well, twice a month, I'm going to buy some junk. And I'm going to give myself $100. That's okay. It's in your budget. But until you realize that and you work it in the budget, it is just junk. But you're feeding that. It's fun. I mean, buying something for Helen, for me, to find something big time on sale. Again, this group, Miss the Richie Riches of the world. On the way down here, the last time we came, I went to the TJ Maxx in Sylacauga and I bought 2 coats and I walked in here and I put them on and they were all like, oh my gosh, Helen, you are really rocking. And I said, hey, I went to the Sylacauga TJ's. This coat cost $22 and this coat cost $32. And they were like, okay, we don't get it. We don't get it. I had so much fun. So Grace, if you're doing it for the fun matters. But if you're not doing it because it's really fun, save the money. I mean, be smart. That's all I'm saying. I can tell you're being smart. You're starting to really get it. But that junk that comes in, unless it was really worth the rush, it's really not worth it.
And that's what I need to realize is some of this just really isn't. And I think a week of dedicating no spend and really just pausing and thinking about it, I think will really help reset that.
It's a pausing. And like my daughter Milner this morning said, the great advice, like when she was in medical school, her professor always said this, and I have taken it to heart. So let's say you decide on Saturday you're going to do something for a week. Well, either you do it or you don't, but a week from Saturday comes anyway. And did you do it or did you just waste the time? Because the time is going to go by. So you might as well have done the challenge.
Thank you, Helen.
Shocked too. You'll be shocked because $6.50 for a giant latte at certain places makes me crazy. It's almost in the Jimmy Choo category. Those kind of things, if you start to go, wait a minute, they're beating me. I'm competitive one. They're beating me. Why am I letting them beat me? See, it's those things that are going to come to the forefront in 7 days. Some of them, and I hope you get them all.
Thank you, Helen. I look forward to checking back in and letting y'all know how it goes.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, Grace.
Hard. Now, Grace, that is a big deal. Congratulations.
Yes. Thank
It's
you for
very
sharing.
good.
We love that. Keep us posted too. Well,
Yeah.
Helen, as usual, the time has flown by and we love having you every time. And thank you. I did do some analytics work yesterday on our podcast. And
You're the queen bee.
You're the queen.
You're the queen. Everybody wants to hear
Everybody
from
wants to
you.
hear from Helen. I was like, just have Helen on.
I'm finally the queen of something. This group was making fun of me this morning because, you know, I was a cheerleader in high school. And then the next year I didn't get it. Well, all of them were just cheerleaders the whole way through. They were like, yeah, well, you didn't get it the next year. I'm like, well, I didn't win at everything. So I'm going to go out and tell them that I'm
Just tell them that you're winning at life. So says all of this crowd. Wealth Edit thinks you're winning at life.
I have to say this, and I'm not blowing smoke up your skirt, as my husband loves to say. Y'all are awesome, because every time people ask me about this, I go, well, I basically just give, you know, some advice how to, and people are like, no one talks about money. No one talks about really the other side of being smart. And these two goons over here, Lauren and Emily, are doing a fabulous service for women, and I'm really proud to be part of it. The second part, and then I'll be quiet, is I want to hear if anybody takes the challenge, and I want to hear if it worked and why it didn't work or what it didn't work, so that I can change my notes.
Awesome. Well, we'll do it. We're going to do it this week.
Okay, I'm pumped. Y'all really are the best.
Well, you
Well,
are
thank
too,
you,
and we're so
Helen.
glad to spend time with you. We'll talk to you later.
Have
Bye, y'all.
fun. Bye.
Thank y'all.